Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and for the last week, I've been driving the 2026 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. Up front is a 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6, as well as a hybrid system, and down below is a 10-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be making this video because I've now spent another week with the Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. Earlier this year, I spent another week with a white TRD Pro, and now I'm spending it here in a Wavemaker blue one, and I'm excited to share with you some of the differences. This car comes in at $3,280 cheaper than that other TRD Pro. There's a couple of changes between the vehicles as well, and quite honestly, my fiance wanted to go kayaking. We don't own a truck, so I asked Toyota to borrow a truck for a week, and they politely said yes. So today we're driving yet another TRD Pro Tundra. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 3.4-liter twin-turbo under the hood. Well, that has been in the news recently for a pretty catastrophic issue. There have been lots of recalls on this engine, which is unexpected from a brand like Toyota. The recall on this engine is for machine imperfections, basically debris being left in the engines after it's manufactured. This is a pretty standard thing that happens to basically all cars. If you own a modern car, there was probably debris in the engine at some point. However, that is normally cleared out of the engine before they leave the factory. It was not in a lot of older Tundras. Now, as of the making of this video, only the 2022, 23, and 24 Toyota Tundras are affected, as well as the Sequoias. Now, that might change later on, but as of now, this current truck is not affected by that issue, but it is something to know if you are looking for a Tundra. You might want to go with the newer one just because it has a better chance of not having that manufacturing defect. Besides that, the engine is great. It's powerful. It is a hybrid, although I've been getting 16 miles to the gallon. At slow speeds, it will kick into EV mode. You know, you have that going for you, but don't expect good gas mileage out of a truck like this. Like I said, paired to a 10-speed automatic, no complaints, works well. And last but not least, it is four-wheel drive, with the TRD Pro getting Fox shocks, different wheels and tires, and that more off-road approach, skid plates, and things like that. How does it feel to drive the Toyota Tundra TRD Pro? It's mostly good. I like the power. I like the hybrid of it. See, right now, I'll turn the fan down. I'm driving the truck in EV. You don't hear a thing. So, in parking lots, drive-thrus, slow speeds, you are going to conserve fuel by not using any of it. I'm completely in EV mode right now, if you could even see me with the light. I'm in EV mode. It's silent. And it is a hybrid where you don't have to plug it in at night, you don't have to charge it, you don't have to worry about any of it. It is a self-contained system, and it works very well. It just doesn't give you the big numbers you might be hoping for. You're going to get like 1 mile per gallon better than the old V8 trucks, which is not substantial, but over the lifetime of a vehicle, it will save you a couple dollars at the pump. Let's hit the gas here and kick that motor back on. And there we go. And you do get some fun boost noises, which is always good to hear. The other bad thing about the drivetrain of this truck is the turning radius. The turning radius is what the kids would call abysmal. It is so incredibly bad. There was a couple drive-thrus I took it through where there's a 90-degree turn, and I had to do a 3-point turn in a drive-thru. I felt like an idiot. It just doesn't have a good turning radius. It is very, very bad. Sometimes I have to do a 3-point turn into my own driveway. So if that gives you any sort of idea of how bad this truly is. But other than that, the ride is bad too. So you really just have like power and acceleration. Like that's really the only major benefit that you have. Speaking of which, since we're alone in a parking lot at night, I will do a quick little acceleration test. We don't have a whole lot of real estate to work with, and you probably won't see much on the GoPro. You do get some good boost noises. You do get good acceleration. In that way, I don't miss the V8 pretty much at all. I miss, I guess, the thunderous sound of a V8, but in drivability, it's fine. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster. I do think it's a little bit busy. There is a lot going on for sure. However, I didn't find myself hunting or searching for much information, so I guess that's good. On the steering wheel on the left, we have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as our volume and voice commands. And off to the right, we have our adaptive cruise control, as well as skip track. Off to the left, we do have our giant climate control vent. We have our cargo light, automatic high beams, gas cap release, gauge dimmer switch, parking sensors on and off, heated steering wheel, wall outlet on and off, and our TRD light bar. So this operates off of the brights switch. And when it is activated, it does have an additional light bar in the front that really fans out the light more than makes it directly bright in front of you, which is really nice for like trails, off-road driving. You can see more to the left and right than you can with your normal headlights. And one of the glories of making this video at night is that I can actually show you how useful it is. Moving out of the door, we have our power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, we have our giant infotainment display. This is one of, if not the biggest infotainment displays of any modern car. So much so that Apple CarPlay actually has an additional row in this vehicle where it doesn't in most others. The Toyota system is fine. It does the job. I don't have any complaints about it. It's relatively simple, but it doesn't have any cool or crazy features. And this does have a 360 camera, which is very nice. And we could select a bunch of different camera views that I will try to show you now while also keeping you entertained with my voice. Here you go. Bada bing, bada boom. Is anyone watching Love Island? No, just me? Okay. It's an awful show, but, you know, it scratches an itch. Anyway, there you go. That is all of the camera systems. Down below that, we have our climate controls. Dual zone climate, very nice to see. We have heated and ventilated seats. Fan speed, and these are all tactile buttons. Again, this is a giant screen in front of you, and I'm glad that the climate controls are not incorporated into it. Then we have another row of buttons for our trailer, camera view, traction control off, hazard switch, rear locking differential, and our tailgate release. This is a power tailgate that we'll talk about a little bit later on. We have our auto holding brake and power parking brake, shifter off to the left that you can plus minus, and off to the right we have a giant cubby with a wireless charger, and that's pretty much it, but definitely nice to have all of that space. Then we do have cup holders. We'll do a big friggin' bottle test, and as we learned earlier this year, the TRD Pro Tundra passes the big friggin' bottle test with flying colors. Then we have our selectors off to the left. So we have our 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low for the 4-wheel drive system. And then we have our drive mode select, tow haul select, DAC and crawl, as well as our MTS. We do get a big center console. You get this tiny little useless cubby up at the top, but then you can open the larger portion down below, and that is a lot more useful. And overall, it's been nice to store my goodies in it. The seats are comfortable. However, I do want to say this is a big differentiation from the other TRD Pro Tundra that I drove. These do not have the suspension seats. If you are unfamiliar, the other truck that I reviewed had suspension seats in it, which are supposed to keep your eyes more level to fight fatigue. Honestly, driving that truck for a week with those seats and now driving this truck for a week without the seats, I can't notice a bloody difference. So save yourself some coin. You don't need the seats. You have a lot more space in this truck because you don't get those suspension seats. They're run-of-the-mill traditional seats, and I like it a lot. And you do now have power reclining on these seats where the suspension seats only have manual reclining. So a nice feature there. And again, you're saving money, and I think it's actually the better option. But speaking of seats, as I alluded to, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, so let's get into the back of the Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. And something to note right off the bat, we do have the seats up. We had all of my fiance's paddles and life vest and kayaking gear back here. And I wanted to show that you can lift these up. Pull this tab down here to release it back down, and you get normal seats. Now, this Tundra actually has rock sliders as opposed to the steps of the other truck that I had, which is a little bit annoying, kind of high to step up here. There we go. I tried to park underneath the lights so it actually illuminated the interior a little bit. But as you'll notice, maybe not because there's the shadows, As you'll notice, these seats are not the suspension seats, so my knees have so much room back here. Oh, I can turn on these lights as well. So much room back here. Absolutely love it. The seats are nice. You do get this like black on black camo pattern, which is slightly questionable, but it's fine enough. You do get a center console as well, cup holders in there, and down here, it's very hard to see actually. We do have a USB-C, USB-A, and a wall outlet found down there, so apologies for the shadows, a downside of filming at night. So, very, very cool. 5'11", not a small guy. I fit back here well enough. You know, my head's not hitting the ceiling, and again, my knees have so much space. It's really, really nice in the back here of Tundra TRD Pro. But let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the bed and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. So this was another reason I wanted to film at night, because sometimes you just don't really get the whole entire vibe of a car when I film it just during the daytime. So if you want all the daytime stuff, look at my other video. But here we are at night. And we do have these 3 lights in the back. I think that's very cool. But this is a power tailgate. Now you can reach up here and hit it and it will come down. However, on the driver's side tail light, there's actually a button right here. Press that and it will fold down. Very, very cool. What is a little bit annoying, however, is the fact that there is not the same button over here. So you don't get that over here. But what I did want to show you, again, the nice thing about filming at night is the cargo lights that you get. Absolutely fantastic. They are LED. They are very, very bright and very, very useful. And they come on the second the tailgate comes down. So very, very nice. As I'll show you when I put the tailgate back up, they will shut back off. One last thing to note over here, we do have a wall outlet, very, very nice. And we have tie downs all throughout the truck. As you can see, this is where we shoved the kayak. Super easy to load it, unload it, tie it down, and all that stuff. So we can come back over here, hit the button again. Tailgate lifts up and the lights should turn off. There we go. Very, very cool to see that. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I, of course, adore the look of this truck because it is finished in Wavemaker Blue. Now, if you've been keeping tabs on the channel, you'll notice that earlier this year, I also reviewed a Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro in Wavemaker Blue. And that was the car that I drove in Santa Cruz, California, down to a lighthouse to propose to my now fiance. And so Wavemaker Blue is always going to have a very special place in my heart. It's a very special part of my fiance and I's relationship. It's part of our relationship story. Wavemaker Blue, it's one of her favorite colors just in general. So the fact that it kind of all ties together. And now with this Tundra, we actually drove this to our first viewing of a wedding venue. So those of you keeping tabs at home, we have started to look for a venue for our wedding, and the first stop was made in a Tundra TRD Pro in that same Wavemaker Blue. So a little bit of Zack lore shared today. That's why I love this color so much, and I'm going to try to get something in our wedding Wavemaker Blue. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving another Toyota Tundra TRD Pro for the last week? Well, I really, really like this truck. There are some downsides and livability issues for sure. It's a big truck that does not turn well. If you live in a congested area, I had to take this into the city of Chicago, and it was not a fun time. Finding a parking spot was very, very difficult. This is not an urban truck by any means, and it's not a cheap truck either, but the TRD Pro, as of the making of this video, is the top dog. Apparently, they're going to make a TRD Pro Hammer. That is going to be an even higher trim level of the TRD Pro. But as of now, for 2026 on the market, this is the top dog. And so you're not really going to be buying this in downtown Chicago, New York, Boston, or Kansas City. Well, okay, maybe Kansas City. That's a different story. Anyway, the maneuverability is not great, but I do like the fact that this is a little bit slimmer on options, and it gets it now down into the 70s. Granted, $79,500. I mean, you're like $480 away from being in the 80s, but it is a cheaper alternative. The last truck I drove was $83,000. This is $79,000, so I think there is a nice benefit to that. This is a more affordable TRD Pro. And honestly, I don't feel like this is lacking anything that other truck was. Overall, I really, really like the TRD Pro Tundra. The turning radius just sucks. The size is very big. But honestly, I love the light bar. I love the color. And I just really enjoy these trucks. So there you go. Those are my feelings. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Toyota for letting me borrow their Tundra again. Huge thank you to Drive Shop for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this truck. And of course, the Midwest Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the slight change in pace. I like doing videos at night to try to change it up a little bit. I know so much can change about a car when you see it at night, so I hope you got a new perspective on the Tundra TRD Pro. But don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.